Alright, we're going to start with the next page in this section where we are actually going to fill in the entire unit circle. In the previous section we saw that we actually filled up only the first quadrant, like I was telling you, just the first quadrant. And based on the values of the first quadrant, we'll actually fill up the other three quadrants also, quadrant 2, 3 and 4. So what did we see in the first quadrant? We saw that the angles went from 0 degrees. The different angles that for theta, the value of theta was 0 degrees was the x-axis itself, and then this was 30 degrees, and then we went to a 45 degree angle, and then we went to a 60 degree angle, and then we stopped at the 90 degree, and that's where was the last of that's where the first quadrant ended. We also wrote down the pi value for each one of the radian value, basically I shouldn't say pi value. So this was just 0 degrees is 0 pi. 30 degrees is pi by 6. We went over the conversion also in the previous section, how to go from degrees to radians. 45 degrees is pi over 4. 60 degrees is pi over 3. And 90 degrees is pi over 2. As far as the values are concerned, remember these are the x and the y coordinates, and what we say, this is what we want to fill up. We want to fill up the cosine theta, sine theta, tan theta, degrees and radians. So we filled up the degrees and the radians just for the first quadrant, and then the values. So remember, I like to first fill in the sine values, and then which are basically the y values. So these are your sine values. So sine of 0 degrees is 0, and then it increases half, square root of 2 over 2. Basically this one is square root of 1 over 2, square root of 2 over 2, square root of 3 over 2, square root of 4 over 2, which is nothing but 2 over 2, therefore you land up with a 1. And then the x values are basically your cosine values, and cosine value starts with a 1 and then goes backwards to 0 and lands up at 0. So 1, and then you do square root of 3 over 2, and then square root of 2 over 2, then square root of 1 over 2, which is just half, and then 0. I'm not sure that we spoke about tan, but tan is nothing but, in our previous section, but tan is nothing but, this is your tan, and tan is nothing but sine over cosine. So if you have your sine and cosine, all you're doing is dividing the sine and the cosine. So 0 over 1 is 0, half over square root of 3 over 2 is 1 over square root of 3, and then you rationalize the denominator. We talked about this when we were filling up the table, I think. Rationalizing the denominator. This is 1, you divide this over this, you get 1, you divide this, square root of 3 over 1 is square root of 3, and then 1 over 0. Remember, whenever you have 0 in the denominator, it is going to be undefined. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is, now this is where we filled up the first quadrant, which we have already learned how to fill it up. Now what we're going to do is, we are going to replicate quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4, similar to the first quadrant as far as the values of sine, cosine and tan are concerned, except what will vary is the sign of those values. And of course the degree is different. Obviously, this is not 30 degrees, this is something else. The degrees of each of those angles will be different, but that will be easier to figure out. So first what I'm going to do is, let's actually first fill in the degrees. Why don't we do that? That way we know what you're talking about. So you are moving from 0 to 30, you are in between value is 45, that's you add 15, and then that's exactly what you're going to do. So from 90 you're going here, you're adding 30, so this is 120 degrees, and we'll get to that. But here, from here to here, you're only moving 15 degrees, so that is 135 degrees. From 135, so difference, it's the 45 to 60, 45 to another one is going to be another 15 degrees, so this is 150, but here you move to another 30, so that comes to 180 degrees, which looks correct, right? You know that this is 0 and this, you know that this is 180 degrees. Then from 180 degrees you move another 30 degrees, so that's 210 degrees. But the in between is a 45 degree where you move only the 15 degrees, so that becomes 225 degrees. And from 225 another 15 degrees is 240 degrees, but then you move another 30 degrees, so that is 270 degrees, which is about correct, because when you add 180 degrees plus 90 degrees, this is the third quadrant, you have to add another 90 degrees, it is 270. So you're doing your math correctly in adding angles. So this is another 30 degrees, so that's 270. Add 30 is 300. But then this little thing is you're adding only 15 degrees. Another 15 degrees. And then for 330, another 30 degrees, 360, which is about correct, because we know a whole circle goes and comes back at 360 degrees. So this is as far as the degrees is concerned. But having said that, now we have to fill in the values based on the first quadrant. So basically when you're talking about, so I'm going to color code each of, I have 30 degrees, 45 degrees and 60 degrees, which is what I'm going to copy to my second, third and fourth quadrant. I'm going to color code each of them. So my 30 degrees is going to be my yellow line. My 45 degrees is going to be my pink line. And my 60 degrees is going to be my green. I mean, these are three highlighters I had, so that's why I'm using these colors. So what's going to happen now is, what you have to understand is, when you measure these degrees, the measurement is always from the x-axis. It's always from the x-axis. So this is 30 degrees. So 30 degrees from this x-axis is going to be this line. 45 degrees from this negative x-axis is going to be this line. And then 60 degrees from this x-axis is going to be this line. It's always from the x-axis. I'm going to finish just filling in all the color coded. So this is your 30 degrees from this axis. The blue line is my x-axis, so this is going to be my 30 degrees from the x-axis. This is going to be my 45 degrees from the x-axis. And this is going to be my 60 degrees from the x-axis. So I'm sorry, I think something happened to my light. All right. And this, so remember what's important is you're always measuring from the x-axis. So 60 degrees from the x-axis, 45 degrees from the x-axis. Okay, so again, so this will be my, now this is not, you're not measuring from the y-axis, you're measuring from the x-axis. So this is 30 degrees from the x-axis, 45 degrees from the x-axis, and 60 degrees from the x-axis. How is this going to help us? You see. So basically this 30 degrees in my second quadrant is going to copy this 30 degrees from the first quadrant, the value square root of 3 over 2 and half. The only difference is going to be the positives and the negatives. Remember here x is positive, but in this case x will be negative, so this is going to be negative. And because you're dividing positive by negative, this is also going to be negative. You're going to copy the same value, square root of 3 over 3, but it's going to be negative. So that's what you need to make sure so even though you can copy the values, you have to make sure the sign. So all the x's are going to be negative, and then the tan is also going to be negative. So 135 degrees is the same as the 45 degrees. 45 degrees is nothing but square root of 2 over 2, square root of 2 over 2, and the 120 degrees is the same as the green line, is the same as your 60 degrees, which is half x being, and then square root of 3 over 2. And 180 degrees is the same as, so we know that pi for that, it's the radian is pi, but 180 degrees is the same as your 0 degrees. So it's going to be -1 and 0, and this one is going to be 0. Tan is going to be 0. And now we're going to repeat this for the third quadrant. So this is quadrant 2. Third quadrant is going to be this yellow line. I'm going to copy the same as this yellow line, square root of 3 over 2 and a half. But which one is going to be negative? What do you notice in the third quadrant? Y is negative, x is also negative. So both are going to be negative. What happens to tan then? The value of the tan will be the same. It will be square root of 3 over 3. But will it be positive or negative? It will be positive, because negative over negative will give me positive. So this is my pink line, which is the same as 45 degrees. So, but remember, both of them are negative because x and y are both negative. And this is positive 1. 240 is the same as the 60 degrees, which is negative half, negative square root of 3 over 2, and negative square root of 3. And the last, not the last one, but yeah, but last one, third quadrant. Last one, this 270 degrees is actually a reflection of this. So it's going to be 0 and 1. 0, there's no positive or negative, but it's the y will be -1 because y-axis, which is on the negative side. And this is going to be undefined because 0 will still be in the denominator. And in my last quadrant, this is my 30 degrees, the same as this. The values will be the same, square root of 3 over 2 and half. except what will be positive, what will be, x is positive. See, in quadrant 4, x is positive, but y is negative. So this will be negative. And then 45 degrees, square root of 2 over 2, negative square root of 2 over 2. And this is the green, which is the same as the 60 degrees. Why is it 60? Because 60 from the x-axis. So it is half and negative square root of 3 over 2. And then I forgot to fill in my tangent values. So tangent values is, I'm just taking care of the sign because negative over positive is going to be negative. So this is negative 1 and this is negative square root of 3. Alright, you might have to kind of rewind and watch it a couple of times for you to get the hang of how to get the pattern for filling it in. The last thing which is important is to fill in the radian. I filled in the radian for the first quadrant. 0, pi by 6, pi by 4, pi by 3, pi by 2. I know some of the middle ones. I know that 180 degrees is always pi. And 360 degrees will be 2 pi. But what about the rest? Okay. So one thing I would like to do is, so that kind of we see a pattern when we're filling it up, is all the pi by 4, all the pink lines will be some form of pi by 4. So when I move from here to here, I've actually moved 2 pi by 4s. So this pink line will be, this one is pi by 4. So this one will be, let me highlight all the pink ones. So that, okay. So this is pi by 4. So this will be 3 pi by 4, all the odd pi by 4. It can't be 2 pi by 4 because that becomes pi by 2. We know it's not that. So pi by 4, 3 pi by 4, and the next pink is here, 5 pi by 4. And then the next pink is the next odd, 7 pi by 4. And I'm also making you circle for a reason. I'm also making you circle it for a reason. Because for the rest of it, we're going to follow a pattern of adding 30 degrees. Why do I do that? So basically, I know 30 degrees is pi by 6. So I go from 0 to pi by 6 to pi by 6 because I moved 30 degrees. So pi by 6 plus pi by 6 is 2 pi by 6. So that's why 2 pi by 6 is pi by 3. 2 pi by 6 plus pi by 6 is 3 pi by 6. 3 pi by 6 is nothing but pi by 2. You're going to follow the same pattern. So this is 3 pi by 6. So this becomes 4 pi by 6. I'm writing it on the top because you want to write the simplified form here. 2 pi by 3. So 4 pi by 6, which is 2 pi by 3. So 4 pi by 6, skip the 45 degrees because that alone breaks it into 15 degrees. Otherwise, you're moving 30 degrees. So that is why I made you fill up this. So skip this. So 4 pi by 6, this will be 5 pi by 6. That doesn't need to be simplified. Next is 6 pi by 6, which is pi, which is correct. 6 pi by 6, 7 pi by 6. Skip. 8 pi by 6, 8 pi by 6 is the same as 8 or 4 pi by 4 over 3. So 8 pi by 6, 9 pi by 6. 9 pi by 6 is nothing but, what is that? 3 pi by 2, which is correct. 1.5 pi, pi, 1.5 pi. So 9 pi by 6, 10 pi by 6. What is 10 pi by 6? 5 over 3, 5 pi by over 3. You're always going to simplify. So 5 pi by 3, sorry, 10 pi by 6, 11 pi by 6. And then 12 pi by 6, which is the same as 2 pi by 6. So here if you notice that you are jumping from one radian to another radian measurement by adding pi by 6. So you're following the pattern of pi by 6 and skip the pi over 4. Skip the in between 45 degrees. So pi by 6, 2 pi by 6, 3 pi by 6, 4 pi by 6, 5 pi by 6, 7 pi by 6, 8 pi by 6, 9 pi by 6, 10 pi by 6, 11 pi by 6 and 12 pi by 6. Alright, so this is how you're going to fill in your unit circle. This is an important circle for you to fill in with the degrees, the radians and all the values. And we will come back to it again, but you should make sure that you have enough practice to fill this in.